Triple Frontier is a new film that's been distributed to Netflix. I didn't really have much of an interest going into this film, honestly, but I decided to watch it anyway. I did think it was going to be like a war film, but it didn't turn out to be like that. Somehow, though, this ended up surpassing those expectations that I had for the film and ended up being far worse than I actually initially thought it was going to be. I thought it was just going to be a pretty average, war-type film, but it ends up being more about these, veterans who have been, part of the US Army that feel as though they've been underappreciated and underpaid, more specifically underpaid throughout their time. So what they attempt to do is work together on this heist mission to get all this money. Of course, along the way, things go wrong. It actually takes quite a while to get into that, that zone of the heist. There's not really much of an exciting build-up. It's just very much, talking and which can absolutely work. I mean, last year, Widows came out, and I thought it was really great. I actually was really impressed with it. And, of course, Steve McQueen directed that. He's also directed other great films. So I was expecting a great film from him again because of his track record. But, it was a completely different film for him. And it still felt like it was very original, despite the fact that it had a pretty straightforward plot, I suppose, whereas a film like this just had a very straightforward plot but also had no other elements that made it interesting. There was no exciting build-up. It was just really bland characters talking to each other about how they're going to do it, and they get into a few arguments and that kind of thing. I was expecting at least a few fun action scenes or something like that, just something to kind of get me a bit pumped up a little bit, but there was nothing of that. It was just very slow paced, similarly to a film like Sicario, I guess, but again, at least that film had something to it that felt intense, but there wasn't really anything to this film. Didn't really help that the characters were really kind of boring too. Ben Affleck is in this film, and also Oscar Isaac. Now, Ben Affleck, not been the biggest fan of him, but I think he's a pretty decent actor. He's been in some really good films, so I was kind of hoping for at least something out of his performance. Oscar Isaac, again, another actor that's great, but they just didn't really add to their roles. They were pretty typical types of characters for what they were doing. I don't know. Look, if you're a fan of these kind of heist action films, then maybe this is for you, but it just didn't do anything for me. There were just a few things in the film that you thought there was going to be some kind of payoff about the characters, or there was going to be some kind of major thing about them. And there's just never really anything like that. I don't know, it just never really went anywhere, even though the final 30 to 40 minutes did have a climax, but it just didn't really pick up or anything. If the pacing was a lot better and the drama had a bit more of an engagement factor to it, then maybe this could have been a really good film. But for me, I just found it really bland and boring. There's no real point in over-explaining my thoughts on this, because I'm just going to keep going over the same points over and over again to the point where I'm just saying the same things that are pointless. I may as well just leave it there. It's honestly just a 4 out of 10 for me. Didn't enjoy this at all. Didn't really find anything gripping about it. And that could be okay if the drama was interesting at least. But I just feel like they hit all the cliches on this. And some of the song choices as well. Ben Affleck's in the car and the Chain by Fleetwood Mac comes on. It just felt so cliche. Look, it's a great song, but how many times are you going to use that song for a film? I feel like I've heard it in so many fucking films. I suppose this film was shot in a fairly decent way, I must say. I was quite impressed with some of the camera work, but other than that, I have nothing. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it there. Let me know your thoughts if you've seen this film. I'd recommend it if you like heist films, but I can't really say you're gonna get anything out of this that you wouldn't from watching other heist films. So probably skip it. But again, if this is the kind of thing you're really into, then do go for it. But just be warned, there's not a great deal of action here. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already, if you want to. Goodbye. Have a good day. Goodbye.